We began with 5 golden tickets, like 5 lucky bolts of lightning ready to strike.
I got involved with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory because my daughter Madeline, who was 10, 1970, came to me and said, Daddy, I just read this book. It's a great book, great book. And I said, yeah, what's it about? Oh, a man with a chocolate factory, and I really love it. You ought to make a movie out of it and get Uncle Dave to put up the money for it and get the money some way, but that's what should be done. So I read the book. It was pretty interesting. I went to Dave, who I worked with, and Dave Wolper. And I said, the kid wants us to make this picture, and I think it's pretty good.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is a book by Roald Dahl. Mel Stewart's daughter mentioned it to him, told him to mention it to me. Tell Mr. Wolper to sell it because it's a good story. And Mel told it to me. And somewhere close to that time, we had some television shows we were doing for Quaker Oats. And Quaker Oats was going to introduce a new candy bar. And one of the executives there told me about it. I said, well, I have a perfect movie to go with that, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's a book about a chocolate factory. I read it, said, oh, that's terrific. Let's make it. Let's make a movie out of it. And what we'll do is we'll release the movie about the same time the candy bar comes out, and it'll be a great promotion for a new candy bar.
And he said, you mean if we don't do that, you won't do the part? I said, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, we'll do it. And I meant it too, because it was a tricky part. But that element of, who knows, is he lying or is he telling the truth, was what my main motor was. And I liked that. It appealed to me a lot.
What Gene brought to it was a lovability to a character who was not written lovable, who was written in a frightening way, who was kind of a monstrous boogeyman kind of nightmarish character, who was spinning magic that was evil. Kids were disappearing, they were exploding, they were turning blue, they were going down a chute, and you could never really be frightened.
Very strange feeling to just be standing on something that just gives, and you have to stand perfectly in the middle. Don't put your arms out at all, because if you do, you're going to bang on the sides as you go down. And remember not to stand back up again, otherwise you'll hit your head.
Violet, would you care to say a few words
Sure,
to the
I will.
nation?
Here it is, golden ticket number 3, and it's all mine.
Tell us how it happened, Violet.
I got cast in Willy Wonka. I was living in New York City, and it was, I think I had 3 callbacks for this role. And I was very excited about getting it because I was able to work with kids, and I had been acting all of my childhood, and most of the time just been with adults.
It was very difficult for her becoming the big blueberry.
The film was being made in Germany. There weren't many, hardly any German actors of this small height. And the only ones they could get that could speak English, I suppose, or could understand English was from over here in England. So they got nine guys. They already had one German guy called Rudy.
Once we decided to get the Oompa Loompas, that was difficult. For some reason, but it's very hard to find midgets and dwarfs who could play the part. We searched around, and many of the people didn't speak English. I know we got some from Turkey, some from Malta, but the communication got a little bit difficult sometimes because very few of them spoke English.
They're dirty cold water, and it was very cold. That's the big problem to me for these days, because I have to jump in a lot of times, and it was a very cold day.
Well, we're dealing with $2 million. Today the picture would probably cost $80 million. Everything we had to do close to the vest, watch the bucks.
But we really were a bunch of amateurs flying by the seat of our pants. And I think the film reflects that. It has that kind of energy, that kind of ingenuity. You know it's not the function of sitting down and intellectualizing. It's not the function of a ton of money. It's the function of Scotch tape, cardboard, let's put on a show. And I think that's the flavor of what makes the movie so vital and so vibrant.
When we began to think about the structure of the whole picture, the idea of music came up. I wasn't nuts about putting music in the picture at first, but I began to see with the fantasy it could work if we got the right music. So I thought it might be a good idea. Could we find the right composers? Again, Dave Wolper came through. His very good friends were Leslie Bricusse and Anthony Newley, who at that time were really hot. We said, give us 3 or 4 songs, an Oompa Loompa song and a main theme and a couple of other things. And so they went away and they came back. I'll never forget the day. It was at Dave Wolper's house.
But the Candyman with Sammy Davis Jr. turned out to be the big smash of the picture.
The funniest story, I think, is about the ending of the picture, because I left there thinking I had done my job. I left there absolutely exhausted, disheveled, not having slept for weeks, and wandered around in a daze trying to explain this experience I had had. It was like being shot out the other end of a tornado. And I wound up at this little broken down log cabin I still have on a lake in Maine.
The last word of Roald Dahl's original script was, Grandpa says yippee. I said, oh my God, I'm going to end this picture with Grandpa says yippee? That's impossible. Where's the kid? And they said, well, David went home. I said, where did he go home? Well, he went on a vacation in Maine somewhere, and nobody knows where he is. I said, everything's going to stop. I am not going to end the picture with Grandpa saying yippee. I said, find me David Seltzer.
I was on my way to go fishing one day up in Maine, and a phone rang. There was only one phone up there. It was a payphone, literally tacked to the trunk of a tree, so that anybody around could hear it. It would go all the way across the lake, and it was ringing, and I walked over and picked it up. And it's Germany, and it's Mel Stewart, and he's on the set.
And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm on vacation. I said, I know you're on vacation, but I'll tell you what. I am here, and there are dozens of people, and we're spending a lot of money, and we can't finish the film, and I want the end line of this picture. He says, well, when do you want it? I said, now. I want it now. Like in the song, I want it now. I want it now.
And I thought, well, I will pitch the only thing I can think of, but how pathetic. They all lived happily ever after. So I said to Mel, so what we'll do is they're flying in the air, and Willy Wonka looks at Charlie and says in a very warning voice. So I'm standing on the phone, and there's dead silence on the other end. I thought, I am sunk. I said, Mel, are you there? He said,
fantastic. And I said, that's it. And I hung up, and I gave Gene the line, and we started to shoot it.
It gave me the chills when Mel told me what David had come up with. I thought it was a wonderful ending to the film.
I'm a veterinarian in upstate New York. I'm a partner in a mixed animal practice. We do both pets, dogs, cats, but we also do horses. And mainly, I do mainly dairy work. So it's a far cry from the acting world, but it's something I enjoy very much. And am still involved with children from the aspect of bringing Willy Wonka to the schools. If public schools are interested, then I will go to their schools and speak to them about what I do now as a veterinarian, but more importantly, what I have done in the past. And it's important for kids to see that, to see the decisions that adults have made, and that what they're doing now, are they happy, and successful decisions.
Well, I did 2 or 3 side roles in German TV films afterwards, but then my father decided I have to do school first. Studied a little bit at the university in Munich, and now I'm a tax accountant and a public accountant.
I had been working up until I did this. I had just gotten off of a 2-year stint with Dark Shadows, the soap opera about vampires. And after Willy Wonka, I went on to do...
And I'm going to be a financial consultant.
Well, you know, it wasn't a success when it came out. And I heard some talk about mothers who thought it was cruel to the children. What they and everyone else found out later on was that maybe some mothers felt that way, but the children didn't feel that way. The children understood the movie very well. that there are limits, and they want to know the limits. And it's reassuring to know that someone can tell you what the limits are, and that's what Willy Wonka did.
We all, as parents, we all hope to train our kids or teach our kids, and then when they're not in our immediate surroundings, when they're on their own and put in a difficult situation as Charlie was at the end, you hope as a parent that your child makes the correct decision. Charlie made the correct decision, and that's why I think parents really like this film.
It's amazing to me that people are talking to me and say, well, as I was a child, I used to see the film and now I show it to my kids. That's really amazing because it's timeless.
And I suppose it is the fantasy. It's everybody's little dream, really, of going to this wonderful, magical place and winning it. You know, I suppose it's a bit like it's the children's version of winning the lottery.
I really didn't think that this was going to have the staying power that it has ended up having. Of course, I'm thrilled that it does. But I didn't think it was going to be all that it is.
Since the script operates on two levels, since it's a child's movie, and yet, if you're an adult, it also operates on that second level for adults, or all those jokes, you know, Rachmaninoff, no, it's Mozart, that's an adult joke.
That's what we want in life. We want to be that boy. We want to be Charlie who finds a golden ticket. We want to win at the end, but nicely.
I hold this movie dear in my career path because it was my first opportunity to touch a movie, a real screenplay. It's not really mine, it's Roald Dahl's. I did some patchwork on it. So I see it as a thrilling event for a kid coming into this business, and as a baptism by fire. The hardest, most fraught, frightening work I've probably ever had to do in my life, because I had no clue how to accomplish what I promised I could. The fact that the movie has held up over time, has become more popular over time, is very gratifying. I never expected anyone to know I had anything to do with it. That wasn't the deal.
The picture comes out, and of course, Quaker Oats puts the candy bar out. The whole reason for the picture. Out comes the candy bar, out comes the picture, big promotional campaign. Only one problem. The candy bar had a problem in the formula, in the candy bar, and it melted in the stores. I had to withdraw the candy bar. Here the picture's out, no candy bar. Fade out, there's no Wonka candy bar that's famous, but the movie became famous. I think that's the payoff of the whole thing. The reason for the movie was to make a candy bar that lasts forever. The candy bar didn't last too long, and the movie lasted forever.
When I made this picture 30 years ago, I had no idea what its staying power would be. You always make a movie, you hope it's going to be good, great, whatever you want, but you never know what's going to happen to it. I think one reason why there's a longevity to this picture in people's minds is because it was made for adults. It was not made for children. I was not making a Disney picture. I was making a picture for adults because it's my strong feeling that children are very bright, they're very smart, they're very hip, and they will get all the references in the picture.
If you had any idea of how many people stop me about Willy Wonka, you'd be surprised. I mean, you're thinking a lot, but it's more than a lot. The mothers come up to me. 2 days ago, a mother came up to me. This is in our country market, could I tell the children who you are? I said, if you don't say it loudly, you can. And she did and whispered, that's Willy Wonka. And she smiled at me and she said, what a legacy. Well, it is. That part warms my heart. It is a great legacy.